A few weeks ago I watched a video on YouTube by Ken and George from Crafts by Two, and they made a garland bunting banner type thing, but it was held together with sections that had been created in the software that they use, which was for the silhouette. I think it was the design space. So no glue to hold it together or bits of ribbon stringing it together, just all done by creating shapes. And I thought it was a really good idea. So I messaged them and told them that I was going to recreate the video for the ScanNCut, and they were more than happy for me to do that. And I said obviously that I would put in the description and say in the video that I got the idea from them, and put a link to their video as well, so that if you get a little bit confused by what I'm going to show you, you can also go and watch the video by Ken and George, and hopefully it will all fall into place. So what you see on screen here is just my test cut that I did, just to see if I could make it work. And I've used their dimensions, and I'm going to use their dimensions again in this video. You can change them, and I will point that out as we go along. So I'm going to go into Canvas. I'm going to come to the basic shapes, and I'm going to start with the square. I'm going to, while it's selected, come to the properties box, and the first piece that we need to make needs to be 1.5 inches high by 1/4 of an inch wide. So I'm going to change this first dimension here. You can click on the down arrows if you want. Oh, I would say I've got maintain aspect ratio unticked for this, but I'm just going to highlight them and type in 1.5 and hit enter on my keyboard, and then highlight this one and type 0.25 to get me 1/4 of an inch. So I've now got that. I want a circle, so I'm going to come to the circle, and then I want this circle to be 0.4 of an inch. So this time I'm going to tick maintain aspect ratio, highlight one of these boxes and type 0.40 and hit enter. And because I've got maintain aspect ratio ticked, it makes obviously the width the same, so it gives me the circle. Now I want another circle, so I'm going to select that one, right click and hit duplicate, bring the duplicate over here out of the way, and this circle I want to be 1/4 of an inch. So again I'm going to highlight this 0.25, hit enter, and that's now given me a circle that's 1/4 of an inch. And then I want another rectangle, so I'm going to select that, right click, duplicate. This time I want it to be only about 1 inch high and about 1/10 of an inch wide. I'm going to untick maintain aspect ratio, and I only want it to be 1/10 of an inch wide. So I'm going to do 0.10 and say enter, and now that's given me another shape there. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so hopefully you can see. So these are going to be the components that are going to make our joining sections for our garland. So I'm going to come over to the basic shapes, and I'm just going to choose a heart, and I'm going to make this heart. Well, first of all I'm going to tick maintain aspect ratio, and then I'm going to select the first measurement and just make it 3 inches. While I've got that selected, I'm going to come to the create offset line, and I'm going to come to the spacing and take it all the way down to the left as far as it will go, and then bring it back 1 to bring it to 0.08, and I'm going to say inward and say OK. And that's now given me an inside heart that's a little bit smaller, which I'm going to leave there because I may need that later. So we're going to make a 4-heart banner. So I'm going to, while this one's selected, right click and hit duplicate, and then duplicate that one and duplicate that one. So I've got 4 hearts in total that are all the same size so far. So what we need now on each of the hearts, if I just bring them along just to show you, we need a section that comes off, and we need a receiving section here, and that's what these are for. So I'm going to bring this one out of the way for a minute. So I'm going to, if I wanted to make the garland this way, you would leave these shapes this way and join them down here, but I'm going to make them, I was going to make them vertically, but I've decided I'm going to make them horizontally, so I need to change the orientation of my shape. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down on my keyboard and just rotate this. I want to get this biggest circle and put it on the end. I'm going to select both, edit, align, middle, so they line up centrally. Then I'm going to select the rectangle. I'll try and zoom in a little bit so you can see. And just with the rectangle selected, I'm going to use the arrow on my keyboard so it overlaps this circle a little bit. And then I'm going to select both and hit weld. And I'm just going to zoom back out now because you need to see what I'm doing. While that's now welded, I'm going to select it, right click and hit duplicate because I'll need a few more in a few minutes. And this is going to go roughly on here. And then your next one comes along and you need a receiving section, and that's where this comes in. So again, I'm going to select this, hold my Shift key down and rotate it. Get this smaller circle and put that on the end, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And again, I'm going to select them both, edit, align, middle, so they line up centrally. And they're overlapped. I'm just going to bring this one over to the left a bit more. Select both of those and weld. Now, this section here that's your adjoining section can be any length you want, and that will determine how far apart your shapes are strung. But the height of this, whatever height you make this section here, so in my case this is 1/4 inch high, this circle on this receiving section has to be the same height. So this circle was 1/4 inch. And if I bring it over and place it on top, you can see. So if you make your length on this started off as 1.5 inches. If you make yours, say 3 inches long and 1/2 inch high, this circle here has got to be the half inch circle to make sure it fits in this section. So I'm just going to go back to zoom to mat, because I found when you zoom around on your mat sometimes you lose parts of it. So what we need now, I'm going to select this heart, hold my Shift key down and select this heart, and I'm going to go edit, align and align them by the top. So I know these two hearts line up. Then I'm going to bring this over here and position it so it's lined up with this. So I'm going to select this, hold my Shift key down and select this, and I'm going to go to edit, align, middle, so they line up in the middle of each other. Now we're going to weld this shape to this heart, but we're going to subtract this shape from this heart. So I need to select this and bring it out to the left a little bit more. So I'm just using the arrows on my keyboard. In fact, I've got that the wrong way around, so I'm going to rotate it. Hold my Shift key down and rotate it. That's it. So both the circles need to point towards the right. That's the way to remember it if you're doing it horizontally like this. And if you were doing a garland that came down, both these shapes would need to point down. vertically, if that makes sense. So I'm going to select this and this, and while they're both selected, I'm going to hit weld. So now that's welded that onto there. And then I'm going to select this one and this one. Now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. This is a little bit of kind of trial and error, but you want a bit of a gap here. You want some cut out here so that you've got space to be able to hook this one into when you put it together. So this was about 1 inch long originally, this shorter piece, and I'm going to line it up so it's kind of about in the middle. This shape has got to be on top, so I'm going to right click and bring it to the front. Just going to zoom back out to my mat again. Select this, hold my shift key down, select the heart, and we're going to hit subtract, which is this icon here. And now it's notched that out. And that then sits like that. That's how you join your garland together. So if we wanted a 4-heart garland, and this was our first one, that would be our second. Now we need a receiving section to come off it. So again, I'm just going to line these two up, edit, align, middle, so I know they line up together. Going to select this, and this needs putting on here now. But again, I'm going to duplicate it. So, because I'm going to need it again in a minute. I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard and scoot that one over. And I'm going to zoom in and just bring it down so it's aligned up with this one. But I'm going to show you again in a minute how to do this all together. I'm just showing you how it actually, the steps that you need for the process to work at the moment. So now I've got that in there, and that one needs to be welded. So while that's selected, hold the shift key down and select this and hit weld. And that would be your next point. And then you would obviously add this one on, and you need another notch. And you'd keep on going. So I'm going to undo and just backtrack a little minute. So I'm going to create a duplicate of that and bring that down here out of the way. And then I'm going to create a duplicate of this. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to select that, hold my shift key down and select that. I'm going to go to edit, align, middle, so they line up together. Then I'm going to just click anywhere on my page to deselect. The first part I'm going to do is subtract this, and then I'm going to weld that. So I'm going to select this, hold my shift key down and select the heart and do subtract. And then I'm going to select the heart, hold my shift key down and select this section and do weld. And now I know that those two are on level with each other. And then basically you could now just save those two as a template, and every time you want to make a garland you would just keep duplicating these sections. So if you wanted, if this is going to be your first heart, that's your second, and say you want a 4-heart garland, you would select this one, duplicate it, that would go onto there, and then your last one would have to have a receiving section. So let's put that one there. I'm just going to duplicate that again because I'll need it in a minute. Select both of those, hit subtract, that would be your last one, and there's your 4-heart garland. So I would make a template of all these options and save it as a template here in Canvas, and then it's ready to use whenever you want to use it. So So let's just take it a step further. So there's one, there's another, and there's the last. Okay, this one here we made smaller originally. You may want to add matting layers, so if we duplicate this 4 times, you may want to use text. So let's go to text and we'll find a stencil font. We'll do an L, position that there, go back to our stencil font, do an O, just do 2 for now. So you could select your letter, select your heart and hit subtract. That's now punched that letter. So if I fill that with colour, you'll see what I mean. And if I fill that with red, it'll give you more of an idea of what I'm aiming at. That could sit over there. So you've got a matting layer. Same with this. Select them both. The letter has to be on top of the heart, remember. Hit subtract. Fill that with black just to give you the same idea. Fill this one with red so you can see where I'm going with it, hopefully. And you could make garlands with words on, or you could just cut this in card and cut this shape in pattern paper, and because you've made it smaller you'll have the border around, so it gives it a bit more definition. So I'm just going to get rid of those because I don't need those now. And I'll move this down. Now, let's just fill all these with one colour so they all look the same. So what if you want to hang your garland? So you might want to put a strip on this end and a strip on this end. Again, you could just come back to your basic shapes, choose a square. Okay, so just size this to whatever size you want. And then you could put that onto there, hold the shift key down and select that and weld. And that gives you a place to hang it, you know, stick it or pin it on the wall. If you stay tuned to the end of the video, you'll see the garland that I made using this same principle. And I just put a little tab like this on either end, and then I use those Command double-sided sticky strips on mine and literally just cut strips off it and put a strip behind here, and I put one of these on the other end and I put a strip behind there, and the bit that was left over I put on the garland in the middle and stuck it on the wall to make it secure. But another thing you could do, if we just undo that, you could make yourself like a hanging loop. So I'm going to make this, say, 4 inches long by about 1/4 inch high, so 0.25. And then what you could do, I'll just get rid of these. I'll take the fill out of this just to make it easier to see. You could use your notch and select both and hit subtract, and you could make a notch in this first garland, and then with this one go back to our circle. We'll make our circle 1/4 inch. No, it was 0.4 this one, wasn't it? 0.40. put that on the end, create a duplicate by right clicking. I'm going to select that circle, hold my shift key down and select that circle and align them in the middle of each other. And then position this, select everything and hit weld. And then what you could do with this is fold this in half, tuck this circle and this circle into here, and that would give you a hanging loop there. So if you've got hooks, the place where I was putting my banner, there was no hooks for it to hang, and that's why I just put the little piece of card on this end and use the command sticky strips. But if you've got hooks, you could make one of these, fold this in half, tuck both the circles through there, and you've created your own hanging loop. And you could do the same on this end and create a hanging loop on that end. So there's infinite possibilities with this, and I think the idea that Ken and George came up with was brilliant, and I just knew that I could recreate it using ScanNCut canvas. So I just thought I'd show you how to do it. So as I say, all the information as to where I found the original video will be in the description box below my video. If you can't see it, click on the box that says show more, and that will expand and all the information will be in there. But I hope you found that helpful. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.